And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Yep, I've got Lance on today's show, and Lance is going to impart on you wisdom as only Lance can impart upon you. Because what we're going to do is we're going to get into his story. Now, Lance is a pretty interesting guy. He actually, when he goes to work every day, he actually goes to work to play. Yeah, he plays at work. Now, we'll get into what that's all about. But more importantly, what I want to share with you about Lance is that 10 years ago, he realized that he had a retirement problem. He realized that what he was doing for retirement wasn't necessarily working, and he needed to change something. So he became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, and he has progressed through a 10-year cycle of real estate investing. Now, we're going to get into his story, and you're going to find out that Lance is one of these guys that didn't do what conventional wisdom told him to do, which was, go to school, get good grades. Now, I'm sure he did that part. But the next part is get into college, get good grades, because you're going to get a higher paying job if you go out of college. Lance did not choose to do that. So at one point in his life, he rejected conventional wisdom. And I love this about Lance. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into Lance's story. We're going to find out why Lance chose not to go to college. And then we're going to figure out, how did Lance amass over $1 million of net worth since becoming a member of Lifestyles Unlimited? All this will be unfolded for you today on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, I guess what we need to do is we need to bring Lance onto the show, because if we don't do that, then there's nothing to talk about. So with no further ado, Lance, welcome to the show. It is a great pleasure to have you on, and I can't wait to get into your story.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So did people back in the day tell you that you needed to go to college? I mean, did you hear that from multiple sources?
Oh, yeah. It's, everybody tells you that you have to go to college. If you don't go to college, you're not going to have a chance.
So what caused you to reject their wisdom, their guidance? Why did you choose not to go to college and instead go into the workforce?
Well, the simple and honest answer is I was done with school. 12 years, I was over it. That's the simple, honest answer.
Well, that's fair, man. Because I mean, you think about it. When you're 18 years of age, your entire life has been going to school for the most part, has it not?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So that could get old. I mean, it got a little old. Now, I enjoyed high school. Did you enjoy high school? I actually had fun in high school. How about you?
I enjoyed aspects of high school. The fun parts of it, I would say, the socialization and that type of thing. Some classes were fun, but some were not.
So the concept of beating your head against a rock for another 4 years was just out the window. You weren't going to do that. You were going to go into the workforce. So how did you progress into the workforce? What did you do to transition out of school into work?
So I always enjoyed working with my hands, and so I found a job working at a copier company, but I started off on little, like the mimeograph machines, the folding machines, the spirit machines, the little pieces of paper that everybody likes to smell with the purple ink on it.
I've never seen those. The purple. I know what you're talking about now. I remember that now. Yeah, the purple ink that got everywhere. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay. So what was it like going into the workforce immediately? Did many of your friends do that, or did they go do the college route?
A lot of my friends did the college route or the military route. It's the two that most of them went to.
Okay. So you got into the workforce. You're doing this job for other people that they either don't want to do the job for themselves or they just can't do it for themselves, which is why they hired you, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of schools use this equipment. Schools and colleges, and then churches especially use that type of equipment.
Okay. So did you stay in that line of work, or did you transition into different lines of work?
I stayed in that line of work for about 18 years, and then got lucky and a position come open on Fort Knox, actually working on tank simulators.
Wait a minute. You went from replication machines to tanks?
Yeah,
that's a jump.
A bit of a jump.
Well, let me take you back to that 18 years where you were working on all that equipment. Did they set you up for retirement? I mean, could you have retired from that job?
No, I remember even early on. I'm a bit older, so I was making a whopping $5.25 an hour when I first started that career.
Dude, you were making bank. You were making the big dollars.
Right. Setting the world on fire.
Because I think minimum wage was what, like $3 back then, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so you were making the big dollars. All right.
So, yeah, and then I remember thinking a few years into that, I am never going to make $1 million. If I worked my entire life, the pay that I'm making, I will never make even $1 million. It's impossible. And so at the time, I thought, well, this is the life. This is where it's at.
That was it. Wash, rinse, repeat. This is how I live my life. I get up, I go to work. I'm going to do this for the next 18 years until I discover tanks. I mean, that's kind of how it played out, right?
Right.
Okay. Tell me about what they were courting you with these 401ks and stuff as you were being hired. What were they talking about back in the day?
Oh, it was, you got to put in, your maximum allowable now, and we'll match, 1.5% of it. Up to a certain percentage. I think it was up to 3%. Is what the company would match, and then of course, typical 401k, they have a stock, fund manager somewhere that's managing what stocks you can have in your 401k.
So basically, they're giving you the pipe dream of, as long as you keep shoving money into it, we'll also shove money into it too, because this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And at one point in your future, you're going to have this huge bag of money, and you're going to live this luxurious lifestyle on this big bag of money, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And some of them would be honest. You're not going to get rich, but you can retire comfortably, type thing.
Oh, there's the rub. So even those guys know that it's flawed, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
But they still sell you on the concept because they don't have any other concept to sell you on, right?
Right. That's all there is. So that's your option. Is 401k or nothing.
So in the year 2000, you make a radical transition in your life. You move away from one aspect of working into a brand new aspect of working. You're in the simulation world now. And what is going on with retirement? Talk to me about what your retirement destiny looked like back in the year 2000 when you switched jobs.
For me, my retirement destiny was work till Social Security, because that was probably going to be my only option. I was married time, my ex-wife now, but she didn't understand money. I mean, she didn't understand anything about it. If I could make the minimum on my credit card, we're doing okay. And that's where I was at. So my retirement plan was to try to survive till Social Security age.
Now, were you tracking age 67, or were you thinking about age 70 so you can max it out?
I was tracking 67 because 3 more years could be a lot, at that age.
Okay. So something happened to you about 10 years later. You want to share with the audience that event in your life?
Yeah. In 2009, I was divorced. Was $21,000 in credit card debt because I took on all the debt. We both had credit cards, but hers was the big one. And so I took on all the debt so my son could continue to live in the house, didn't go to school where he was going to school because he was 17 at the time. And I wanted to make sure he could continue to, his some stability in his life. So I took on all the debt, $21,000, and divorced and sleeping in the car for a couple of nights. Got lucky, and a friend was like, let me sleep on his couch for a little bit until I could get back on my feet.
So I think it's fair to say that you went through what I would call a financial catastrophe. I mean, your world got turned upside down. You got rocked financially. The life that you thought you were going to have is no longer the life you thought you were going to have. Now you have to retool, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was choosing between breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Which one am I going to have today?
Okay, that's a tough place to be in. I know you're not there now. So how did you migrate away from that terrible place in your life to where you are now?
So I, ultimately had to file bankruptcy, which was in 2010, the fall of 2010. I just couldn't keep up. You at that point you just get further and further and further in the hole. So I couldn't keep up. I filed bankruptcy in 2010. I was fortunate enough to be able to file Chapter 13, which wiped the debt completely. So I started back at zero. And at that point, I was able to start actually saving money. I think at the time I was making $18 an hour. Well,
that's a lot better than that $5 we were talking about, huh?
Right.
So let me stop you right there, Lance. How old were you in 2000? Can I ask that personal question of you on the air?
Yeah. So
got to do the math, right?
I'm no math genius, that's for sure. But I was 31 years old.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say at the age of 31, you completely restarted your life. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is because I know there are people listening to us that are in that place in their life that are struggling, and they're trying to find, some hope. They're trying to find a way out of this terrible path that they found themselves on, and you found the way out. So go ahead and share with us the rest of the story, Lance.
Yeah, so I was listening to radio, and I hear this ad for Lifestyles Unlimited. It's, about real estate. And I had a family member that was very successful in real estate, so I knew that that was a positive vehicle. And I hear this radio ad about Lifestyles Unlimited and the 2-day financial freedom class. So I was remarried, and that was in 2010. I was remarried. Oh no, I remarried in 2011. So we went to the financial freedom class when we were just dating, and sat through Dale Walmsley's 2-day class. At the time, like I said, I'm bankrupt. I can't buy any property because you have to wait 4 years after bankruptcy. So we joined as financial freedom members. Went to the 2-day. My wife was not on board, but ultimately she was talking to a friend that she went to high school with, grew up with, and hadn't talked to him for a while. And they reconnected, and she said, "What are you up to these days?" And of course, Jennifer replied, "We're retired." And jokingly, my wife said, "What are y'all, Lifestyles members?" And she said, "Well, as a matter of fact, we are." And click. That's what clicked for her.
That was it. That was the motive that caused her to become a believer, huh?
Yes, yeah. Well, a little bit of a believer. So the
so still some skepticism there, right?
Sure.
Okay, well, I think it's safe and fair to have a little bit of skepticism. I mean, my wife was a huge skeptic. I was a skeptic of this Lifestyles Unlimited thing when I first checked it out. How about you? Were you a skeptic?
Well, of course, because you always taught if it's too good to be true, then it's probably not. And so, yeah, you're skeptical. I came, I watched, like I said, we went to the 2-day, and I'm hearing everything. I don't fully understand it because it's a lot to take on, but I'm hearing everything, and I know, okay, yeah, real estate is an excellent vehicle for retirement at the time. That was my goal. And so I started pushing a little bit further, and I started saving. And 2014 was when I was able to actually go buy a property, and that's when I bought our first property.
All right, 2014, that was the magic year. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk to Lance about how he was able to resolve the bankruptcy, buy property, and amass $1 million worth of net worth. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
What would you say to women out there, Kelly, if they're thinking about doing this, if they're sitting out there right now going, I'm trapped with a glass ceiling where I work, I know I can't go up any further, there's no room there. What would you say to them about becoming their own boss?
Well, you can decide to stay where you're at and keep trying to crack that glass ceiling. But at the end of the day, in this environment, it is so easy, to be able to get out of that mold. People know me and they come up to me and they're very gracious, and they don't look at me and say, oh, you're a woman, I'm not going to invest with you, I'm going to go over here. There's no real gender there.
Are you ready to be a part of a world where there are no glass ceilings, no gender bias, no limits? Start like award-winning real estate investor Kelly did with the online workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon. I'm joined by Lance today, and together we are working on your financial freedom. Now, Lance went through a period of his life where things just didn't work out as well as they should have financially for him. He went through a period of divorce, and divorce is a very, very stressful situation for everybody concerned with it. The two divorcing members, the family members, it's a very stressful situation. And usually one of the outputs of divorce is some kind of financial catastrophe. Well, Lance lived through that, and he was forced to file bankruptcy. Now, Lance, what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about how you were able to remediate that bankruptcy and how you were able to put it in the rearview mirror, because it's not stopping you today, is it?
No, definitely not. So when you file a bankruptcy, Chapter 13, which it wipes the debt clean, you cannot get a conventional mortgage for 4 years. So I waited the 4 years and with bated breath, because I knew, okay, in 4 years I'm doing this. And so exactly to the month, 4 years later, we purchased our first rental property in October of 2014.
Okay, so you'd been a member of Lifestyles Unlimited for a year and a half, but you couldn't buy any property. So what were you doing during that 18-month time period? Were you networking? Were you educating yourself? What exactly were you doing to prepare for that date in 2014?
Definitely networking and then soaking up all of the education that Lifestyles offers, massive amounts of education on their portal. And we were watching it over and over and over, talking to people, getting ideas, networking, just preparing ourselves for what was to come.
Okay, so we get to October of 2014. You're 4 years beyond the bankruptcy. You basically have a green light from lenders now. What did you do?
So at the time, they had a ready-to-buy list for new members, and we got on that list, and we got a phone call from Lee one evening. This property is available. Are you interested? We said absolutely. So we went out to take a look at the property, and of course, this one was in Fort Worth. There's a gentleman that had married, and he was, getting rid of his bachelor house, so to speak. So we went to take a look, opened the door. There's radio blaring to keep people from breaking in. There's car parts all over the living room. Old 70s everything, orange carpet, gold countertops, gold look.
I feel like you're sweet talking me right now, Lance. This sounds like a beautiful property.
Oh, it was magnificent. Your first property, you're scared as all get out, and just it's hard to see the vision. But as they say, it definitely smelled like money.
Nice. So how much money of your own did you drop into that asset?
So,
do you remember?
Again, blue-collar guy, not making a lot of money. I did have a 401k, and I had a little bit of savings. So I pulled $14,000 out of my 401k as a loan, and then I had a little bit with me. But so ultimately, it was $17,000 out of pocket to purchase and rehab that property.
Do you still own that property, or did you dispose of it?
We sold that property in 1031 into another single-family back in 2020.
Okay, so you sold the property and you did something called a 1031 exchange. Our listeners have no idea what you're talking about. Go ahead and tell them what you actually did.
So 1031 exchange is it's a way to move your capital gain to the next property without having to pay the tax on it. So you
is
buy
that legal?
Property that's a little, yes, it is. It's a IRS code. A 1031 is an IRS document where you take your funds, you move them into a bigger property and do what's called a leg up. You have to just keep moving it to a bigger property, and that avoids the capital gains until you ultimately sell and don't buy anything else or you die. And when you die, that capital gain goes away.
That is a good deal. So how much money did you move out of that first property into the follow-on property? Do you remember?
Yeah, ultimately, with the sell from that property, we took $52,000 and put it into the next one.
Okay, slow down. Time out. You put 17 grand into that property, and then a little bit later on, you were able to take like $50,000 out of it and move it into another property?
Yeah, but actually before that, we were able to refinance it and pull out $20,000 to buy property. So we've benefited twice as far as being able to buy more real estate.
So you learned that you could buy an asset, you could improve that asset could go up in value, and then you could sell that asset and ultimately buy two with it, even though you took money out to buy one along the way. Wow.
Right.
Sounds complex, doesn't it?
It sounds complex, but if you know what you're doing, it's very simple.
Did you go out and buy apartments after you had bought houses previously?
Yeah, we found a 6-unit apartment in southern Indiana, which is just across the river from here in Louisville.
So why make the jump from single family to multifamily?
It's because of the power of increasing the value. With a single family home, it's rated or appraised to the ones next door to it. It's a $100,000 house. It's a $100,000 house. There's not much you can do to increase that value. But with apartments, you increase the value by increasing the net operating income, how much money it's bringing in after all your operating expenses. And so you can reduce the operating expenses that the old owner had, and you can increase the rents to increase the income, and that's where you get your value of an apartment.
So you took the proceeds from a single-family property, you 1031 them into this 6-unit. Am I getting this correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think this is really, really cool. You started with one house. You disposed of that house. You bought flood properties. You paid like nothing for the flood properties because people were just literally giving them away. So you bought some flood properties. You improved those flood properties. You watched those flood properties increase in value. You harvested the value. You used a 1031 exchange, totally permissible from the United States government, to buy a 6-unit apartment community. Man, you must be tired.
It's not bad. I mean, I'm working a full-time job, and I'm still able to manage this property and manage the vendors, and it's fun. It's enjoyable. So, for quote weekend work, it's something I really enjoy.
So, what did you pay for that 6-unit apartment community? I'm just getting nosy now.
We paid $385 on the property, and his NOI was about $2,000 a year, his income. And so as a result of raising rents and bringing down costs, now it has a $52,000 a year net operating income.
Wait a minute. You went from $2,000 to $52,000?
Yes.
That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. That right there is the power of multifamily. Now, how long have you had this asset for?
We've owned it since November of 2021, so it's coming up on 2 years this November.
So in a 2-year period of time, you've more than doubled the value of this asset. You've got what, like $500,000 or even more possibly in equity in this thing right now?
Yeah, the equity right now is right at $565.
Okay, so you obviously have a debt equity problem, do you not?
Absolutely, I do.
Okay, what are you going to do about that?
So we're looking to sell this property probably right after the first of the year. We're selling 2 single families right now. We've got one sold and one's going on the market tomorrow. And so we'll take that cash, go try to find another apartment community, and then next year we'll sell the 6-unit along with one more single-family house, and then move that into a bigger apartment.
You are exponentially ratcheting up your earning power with your investments. You realize that, right, Lance?
Oh, yeah. The building now currently, its cash flows right at $2,800 a month.
$2,800 a month, and that's essentially tax-free because you're taking the depreciation write-offs on the asset, and that's protecting your income stream, right?
Yeah. And since my wife's retired, she's able to become what's called a real estate professional, which is just a title that the IRS has that will allow her to shelter my income. So on my income last year, I only paid $1,200 in federal tax.
What was your effective tax rate? I love comparing that with my guests. Do you even remember?
It was less than 5%. I don't remember the exact. The year before it was 5%. This year was less than 5%.
Okay, you beat me. I was less than 6% this year, so I got some work to do. I've definitely got some work to do to catch up with guys like you. So clearly, retirement is not a pipe dream for you anymore. Retirement is something you're staring right in the eyes. When do you think you'll be able to have the ability to step away from that simulation career? Now, what you do sounds really cool, so you may not want to quit, but wouldn't it be nice to have the control to quit if you wanted to?
Yeah, it's my projected retirement date is August of 2025.
August of 2025. So we got a little over 2 years to go. And do you see any speed bumps along the way?
Not really. Unless I do something dumb, which being a Lifestyles member, I don't foresee that happening because I've got way too many people I can call and bounce things off of and before I make a mistake.
I think it's incredible. Now, you're living in Kentucky, so you're one of our national members. How do you find the support system from Lifestyles Unlimited? Are we giving you everything you need in the great state of Kentucky so that you can continue to buy these great assets that are returning phenomenal returns for you?
Yeah, oh yeah. We just the online portal itself, education classes. I can pick up the phone. I can call my national multifamily mentor at any time. Literally, they will take the time and hold your hand through every single step.
Yeah, because you're part of the community. You know, if you flourish, the rest of us flourish, and if we flourish, you tend to flourish too. And we culminate the culture every year at Expo. Do you go to the Expo events?
Oh yeah, every single year.
Tell me about your Expo experience, because most people listening to us, they're thinking Expo. Isn't that where you go to buy like fishing boats and stuff like that?
2 days of real estate education, and then there's also you get your time with Dell where he gives his opinion on real estate for the future and the past, and plus the networking, just the networking with amazing people that all the different stories of where they came from and where they've gone, and getting ideas from them on how they operate properties and where they're buying. And it's literally you can network with people all over the nation and invest wherever you want.
Don't forget about the parties. You go to the parties, don't you?
Well, yeah. So yeah, that is the extra benefit of the after parties with packed full of people. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, that Expo event, man, that is the annual thing that I love to attend for all the reasons you just cited, Lance. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Expo, as well as the people listening to us on the radio today. Now, if you want to become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited and do exactly what Lance and I are doing, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.